Olivier. Thank you for attending today's webinars in partnership with BIP, good friend of Salesforce here. So my name is Olivier Bertegan. I'm one of the director for the BDR across the EMEA, and I'm super excited to welcome you and virtually meeting you. So to kick us off, if you could start posting in the chat, where are you joining us from? I would love to know, where people are located. So give us some love. We'd love to know where you guys are coming from. UK, France, Manchester, come on. Okay, Stefania, welcome, Stefania. So where are you coming from? Put that in the chat. London, okay, London is in the house. Canterbury, okay, I see. Suzette, Dubai, come on. Dubai is in the house. Okay, sunny London town, London Bridge, London, okay. Miami, Florida, okay. I've been to South Beach, okay. It was a good time in Miami. It was great. Prague, Czech Republic, fantastic, great. Brighton, Shannon from Brighton, love Brighton. Scotland, come on, all right, it's great. All across UK, all around the world. So fantastic to see, all of you are coming from all around the world. And so let's keep moving. So today, so you're gonna hear from Salesforce leaders based mainly in the UK, Ireland, or see some of them are, still because of the pandemic, are located around Europe, and they will be sharing their career journey with you and give you some advice, key advice on how to succeed in the tech industry. So, but before we meet today's panel, I want to learn about you a bit more. So Salesforce is built on some serious values, and we're going to switch to that. You can see on the screen, starting with trust, innovation, customer success, equality, and newly added value, sustainability. So when you look at those values, you're who are watching us, which one of this value resonates with you? I'll put it in the chat so I can see what's important for you. So put it in the chat: customer success, innovation. Hey, Alex, I see you from South of France. Trust, equality. Okay, fantastic. Suzette, equality. All of them. Hector, okay, all of them. All right. Okay, 1 foot in, Hector. I see you. Chloe, equality. Akin, it's great. Great. Fantastic. Great. All right, let's keep moving. So, I'm super excited. I'm gonna introduce you now to our incredible leaders here at Salesforce. I'll see, as I said, based, mainly in the UK. So you can see the slide there, but I think before I do, I need to give you a little bit of background on myself, so who I am. So I'm Olivier Bertegan. I was born in Paris, France. You can maybe hear the French accent. So I've been in the UK now for 23 years. Believe it or not, I left straight after the World Cup and when France won against Brazil in 1998. And I think at the time I had that dream. I was saying to my mom, I want to do international business. And I've just felt like I needed to move to a land that my gift would be recognized, where I would have more opportunities. So I moved to the UK, and I had this passion about international business, sales, management, and that's been my #1 goals. So my journey has been made of ups and downs, and I didn't start at Salesforce. I remember last week someone asked me, "Did you start at Salesforce?" No, it was not my first job. My first job in London, I was a cleaner, and I went from cleaning, theaters to doing sandwiches, but I was focused on my goals, and I went into sales and done really well in sales, and start to see that I was also gifted with management. So, cut the story short, 20 plus years later, I'm now one of the directors at Salesforce, so the BDR covering EMEA. So why did I join Salesforce? The value are very key for me. But advice for you as you start in your journey in sales: money is not always the main reason you should join a company. I looked at 3 things before I joined Salesforce. First one was leadership. Is there good leadership? Is there the people I'm going to be working are good people? Do you have the right values? Second thing I look was the product. Product is key. I mean, sales, come on. The product better be good. Good product at Salesforce, tick the box. The last one, and it's one that sometimes people underestimate, is the culture. What kind of culture I'm stepping in? Is it a toxic environment to work with, or is it a good sort of place to work? Good culture. Salesforce tick the box on those three, and I say, I'm in. So that's why I decided to join Salesforce. All right, so moving on now to the panelists. I'm gonna ask now each of the panelists to introduce themselves by sharing their name, how long they've been at Salesforce, their role, and what they do in their role. All right, so we're gonna start with Fanta. Fanta, would you like to start?
Yeah, thank you, Olivier. Hi, everyone. So my name is Fanta. I was born in Guinea. I'm French, and I joined Salesforce almost 5 years ago. I joined Salesforce a little bit after graduation, and now I'm working in the sales team for our customer in France, small businesses and startups. So I've been working in this environment for more than 3 years. An account executive, so I was managing accounts, and now I'm part of the extended teams. I specialize myself in one of our products. So currently in my role, I'm helping the sales team to do more business with our customer in the small and medium businesses in France.
Hey, Fanta, I was looking at your profile. I was sneaking on your LinkedIn, and I saw that you did a master in business and enterprise, and one of the subjects was African dance. I mean, you can African dance? So just
African dance was one of my hobby. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I did some African dance. Like in general, I love dancing. So I'm still doing dance actually. Now it's more salsa. But I love it.
I mean, if anybody on a chat wants to see some move from Fanta, put it up. We might get a little something before the call ends. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fanta. Ayobami, over to you.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name's Ayobami Akinlaso, referred to as Ayo a lot of the time. So I work for Tableau within Salesforce. I've been at Tableau for coming up to 3 years in July. Before that, I had 5 years experience in recruitment. So I came out of university. My first job in sales was recruitment, and then moved to another recruitment company. And then at that point, I kind of asked myself what industry I wanted to be in, because I felt like I wanted to come out of the recruitment industry. And for me, I thought technology is obviously the sector that makes the most sense, just because of the way, the amount of growth that you see in that sector, the fact that we use some form of technology to do, all parts of our lives. So as a salesperson, like Olivier mentioned earlier, that's kind of where you want to be. That's where the best products are. And so, yeah, I applied for a job at Tableau and got it. And yeah, here I am now. In terms of my background, I studied psychology, like to work with people, like to study people, wanted to be a sports psychologist. But when I finished university, I kind of asked myself, do I want to do a master's and a PhD? Probably not. And yeah, came into sales instead.
Hey, I mean, Ayo, your psychology, how do we go from psychology to sales? I mean, the two are linked. I mean, just.
Well, yeah, I would say the two are linked because of, psychology is the study of people, understanding how people work in different scenarios, how people experiences shape their thinking. And sales is very much based on that. You're dealing with different people in different scenarios. You've got to understand what approach is going to work on, one person, and how you're going to build a relationship with that person to either help you close the sale or make an introduction into someone else that's going to be able to further your footprint within a client. So yeah, I definitely think the two are linked.
Okay, thank you, Ayo, for this intro. Moving on now, last but certainly not least, Aiden, maybe I should say.
Hello, I'm Aiden. I'm a project management apprentice, and I'm studying project management, and I'm doing I guess I'm working at Salesforce as an event administrator apprentice. So if you're a student, put it in the chat. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. And my job basically is working with nonprofits, clients, and our ERGs within Salesforce to create amazing events.
Thank you very much, Aidan, for your intro. So great. Thank you all for sharing. So now let's move on to the theme of today's call, which is about pivoting into tech and building your career in, I guess, in the technology industry. So let's kick it off with our first question. So I'm going to ask each one of you to tell us, I guess, a little bit about your career journey. Let's start with Fanta.
Yeah, thanks, Olivier. Well, my career journey, I would say, before graduating, I've done all sort of jobs. Just wanted to, earn money and get some work experience. I've done some cleaning as well. I've worked in the call centers, etc. And then as you said, I studied business, and I was always interested about sales. So when I went out of school, my first choice was to go in a consulting company because I wanted to help business develop themselves. But I realized that it was not, the thing I wanted to do. And I had used Salesforce in one of my internships in a tourism company. So then I came to Salesforce as a graduate. I did the graduate program. We have a program called Future Force. So I joined Future Force, and my first role was what we call BDA here at Salesforce. It means a Business Development Associate. So I was helping, people who were trying to get intelligence about companies, understanding their goals, their objectives, who are the key decision makers. So
Fanta, sorry to stop you, because you need to as well, I think, give us some understanding in terms of moving country, because it's, you had to realize that opportunity for you was not maybe just outside your parents' home. You might have to move to a different country. BDA, you were in Ireland. I mean, it's right out there, I'm not sure if hey, come on. Ireland.
Yeah, why? I moved. Yeah, well, I have to say, since I was young, I've been always interested about being abroad. During my studies, I've been to Mexico, I've been to Venezuela. So it was not my first, experience abroad, but yeah, I was interested about the tech industry. I wanted also to maybe go in a country where I could speak English. So I didn't know anything about Ireland, to be honest, but because I was attracted by the company, I decided to move. And I stayed 4.5 years at the end in Dublin. I just moved recently back to France in November.
It's important, I think, for people on the call to understand that, you fulfilling your dream doesn't mean you're going to have to live across your parents' home. You might have to come out, you're probably going to have to come out of your comfort zone and experience things you might not have planned. You talk about being a cleaning and customer set, all those type of jobs you've done, but you all have this goal in mind, And,
definitely. I think it's the main important thing, to have something in your mind, what you want to achieve, and then to make the necessary step to achieve them. So for me, moving abroad was not, something that would stop me to do my goal. And at the end, it was one of the best experience I had, to be honest. I learned so much. I'm still at Salesforce, so it means that it was a good choice. So yeah, really happy about this.
Thank you. There's something about coming out of your comfort zone for your growth.
Yeah,
all right.
Definitely.
Moving on to Ayo. Over to Ayo. Your career.
Thank you, Olivier. So so I studied psychology at university, made a decision that I didn't want to continue my education further to become a psychologist. So I kind of looked at the jobs and made a decision on what I wanted to do. And I thought, recruitment sounds like a good, noble profession. You're helping people find jobs. And started working in recruitment and found out quickly that it's not as straightforward as helping people find jobs. It is a sales position. And ultimately, your goal in recruitment is to hit a number, as like in any other sales profession. And I worked on a temporary desk. So that meant I was filling temporary roles. So sometimes, we'd have a job, it was finance and accounting recruitment. Sometimes we'd have a job for a month. Sometimes we'd have a job to fill for 6 months, 12 months. And, we would try and have candidates over to the client, you know, if we got the job on Monday, definitely by Monday evening, if not Tuesday morning. So very quick, fast-paced environment. But I found out that that's what I liked. I liked the intensity. I liked, always having something to do. You're constantly meeting new people as well, because you're trying to get people on your database so that you can match them to suitable roles. And having that ability of understanding what people would thrive in certain environments as well. So I had a really successful career at my first recruitment company, but then decided that I wanted to move into technology. And at the time when I've been interviewing for roles in technology, they said because I wasn't kind of selling a product, they weren't able to transition me into the role. So I then moved on to a recruitment advertising company, which was kind of a hybrid between where I wanted to be. So obviously still making use of my recruitment experience, but then having that kind of technology, because even as recruitment advertising, we're selling CV databases, we're selling advertising space on websites. So there was an element of technology connected to that. Right. So that when I did then eventually apply for a role at Tableau, it made sense because I had that experience behind me. I think the recruitment side of things kind of prepared me in a good way. Like I always say this to people, that it's something I never would have changed, because it teaches, first of all, you have a lot of ups and downs in recruitment. Like you can place someone in a job on a Monday, and by Thursday that week, they're telling you that they hate it, that they're going to walk out, they're not interested, they're not happy with whatever. And then you've got to find a replacement with a brand new client or a trusted client who's telling you it's your last chance. So yeah, it's it's a lot of emotions that you kind of experience in a day or a week or a month. But then once you have that kind of baptism of fire, so to speak, anything after that is kind of smooth sailing. So, I think some of the skills that I learned there is persistence. Like whenever I'm speaking to clients, I always, follow up with them. I always have an action plan with them. And that's a lot of the stuff that I learned from my recruitment days. So I kind of take that stuff for granted as second knowledge in my head, like almost a reflex. But I know I wouldn't have that if I didn't have the recruitment experience behind me as well.
It's good. I understand that world. I work also for a job site back in the days, and obviously working with a lot of recruitment agencies. It's a tough job, but you learn a lot of skills, and one of them being outbound, baby. The outbound, new business. And I would tend to say to people, if you're good with the outbound, you're always going to be employing sales, because it's all about the new business in what we do.
I remember my first call-in session where I was doing outbound sales, and I just didn't realize how rude people could be if they just don't have time for you. So I remember like the first time I was making calls and people were just basically just stopping short of swearing at me and telling me to get off the phone. I was just like, wow, I was just calling just to see if you had any finance jobs. I didn't realize you were going to get so angry. But that's part of the, that resilience you build is that thick skin and just understanding it's not personal. They just don't have time basically, and they're in their head, they're thinking, why should I speak to you? And so part of what you learn is creating that reason why they need to speak to you if you're working in sales. So yeah.
Fantastic. Love what you said, especially the fact you said it's not personal, because some people's like, I'm not going in sales because they can't take the rejection. The matter is you're here to propose a service, and it's nothing personal. Keep
exactly
moving. Put the foot down, keep moving. Thank you, Ayo. Moving on to Aiden.
Well, my journey has been interesting. So before Salesforce, I started as a student, had just finished my A-levels, and when the pandemic happened, so I just finished my gap year, and I was like, uni time. And yeah, you know how like everyone was like stress buying during the pandemic? I was like stress searching. So on Google saying, is it relevant to go to uni now? Is this the right decision? Is the economy collapsing? Panic zone. So then I came across this I got this program called Multiverse, and they basically helped me find Salesforce, where I guess I went into tech, and yeah, that's how I got here, I guess, in terms of my journey as being a student journey. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. So now moving on to the next questions. I'm thinking about asking a question to Fanta. Fanta, obviously you talked about this, what you were doing. You were working consultancy. Sounds like, sounds great. But were there not time when you move from, I guess, from consultancy to Salesforce, you're in Ireland, maybe by yourself, you're like, my God, what am I doing here? At times, were there not time you were maybe thinking about returning home, returning to maybe to your previous industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I would say the move from consulting to tech was quite quick, because I started this experience after school, and I quickly realized, okay, this was not the thing I wanted. You said one thing, when you were introducing yourself, that when you're looking for a company, you have to look at different things, and one of them being the values of the company. And I don't know, I didn't find myself in this experience. I didn't align with the values. And the only thing I know at that time is that I wanted to be in a fast paced environment. I wanted to be in an environment where I could, like have an impact, show my values. And I also wanted to have an impact for business. I wanted to speak with CEOs. I wanted to be closer to, like the business point of view. So this is where when I decided that I wanted to move to tech. At the beginning, I started to think about the SaaS, software as a service industry. Mm-hmm. And then I remembered that I used Salesforce before. I used it when I was in an internship. So this is where I just started to look at this environment. At the time, to be honest, I didn't know that much the tech industry. I didn't know that much Salesforce. And it was through, like searching for the company that I realized how big this environment was, how many opportunities you could have in this environment. And this is where I made the switch, and I decided to move to Ireland and move to Salesforce. And ever since I started in this environment, I've grown so much, and I've realized how, at least for me, how nice and how like how this sector is full of opportunities, how I could learn, how I could grow, how I could make money. So to be honest, since I'm in this environment, no, I didn't think to move back to another industry, because from all the industries I've been working in, this is the one where I find myself being more myself. This is the one where I feel like I can grow. I always have a new challenge. I am someone who doesn't like to have the same days every day. And this is the environment where I feel like, okay, every day is different. Every day I'm being challenged. I've been in the company for almost 5 years, but still now I'm learning, and I need to, like ask for feedback. I need to grow, etc. And also one thing that really made a difference for me is I was speaking about the values. At Salesforce, we have what we call equality groups. It's like, okay, organization, and taking the leadership of one of those groups was also something that made me really, I think, stick to this environment, because on top of my job, I could also have a real impact in terms of diversity and inclusion.
Fantastic. I mean, it sounds to me you're really making the most out of, wherever you are. And I love that mindset, and what you said, you were speaking, I could hear opportunities, tech equal opportunities.
Yeah, definitely.
It's great. Fantastic. Thank you, Fanta, for the answer. Now we're going to talk about this thing called the imposter syndrome. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was like, what's this thing all about? So asking this question to Aidan, can you tell us some strategy for overcoming this thing called imposter syndrome that maybe you might have felt when you first started in your role? Aidan.
From like a student perspective, so you used to come to this company and I call it the Fresh Prince experience. So you go in, you're like, wow, we have everything, like the snacks, it's just amazing. So like when I started, I guess I was kept questioning myself, saying, what am I doing here? Why did they choose me? And even in meetings where I'm like still and just thinking, I don't know what they're speaking about, because the jargon was different as well. So what I started doing was I started writing notes in the meetings, and then asking for one-to-one, saying, can we go through this? Can I have some help? Whatever. And I guess it's just being open and communicating. So if you don't understand something, understanding that we're only human and we will make mistakes, but learning from those experiences. So the moment I started doing that, I started being more, I guess the relationships got better. So people were like, oh yeah, she helped me with this before, or even like putting your hand up and saying, can I help you with anything? I started being part of the community. But yeah, I guess in terms of what I did was just be proactive about it and just say, I don't understand this, I'm new, I'm worried. And yeah, just be open with your communication.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask the same question to Hayo. So again, can you tell us some strategy, for overcoming the imposter syndrome?
I think the biggest one is you've got to listen and you've got to be willing to learn. Working for a tech company doesn't mean that as soon as you start for the tech company and you learn everything, the learning stops. Technology updates. There's, Tableau, we have 4 updates a year. So at minimum, we're doing 4 trainings a year on software that we already know how to use, because they release new functionality, they release new updates. Obviously, as in sales, I'm speaking to customers. I need to be able to understand the software that I'm selling. And so you've got to have the willingness to learn, but you've also got to be able to just put your hand up ruthlessly and continue to ask questions. Don't ever feel like you're bugging people. Don't ever feel like you're getting on people's nerves, because they know you're new, right? They know that you don't know this stuff. Even if you do already have experience in the industry, you haven't worked for Salesforce or Tableau before. So there's going to be a gap in your knowledge. So you just have to have that willingness to ask those questions. People will say stuff to you as if you should know what you're doing, because they're institutionalized. I find myself doing it with new starters where, I might say an acronym, or I might say something that I think they may know, and they kind of give a blank look on their face, and I'm like, oh, sorry. And then I explain what it is, because I noticed that I do it myself. But if people do that to you, just be bold enough to just say, oh, I don't know that, or I'm not sure what that is. And a lot of the time you're not expected to know what that is. But I remember when I first started, someone would say something and then I would think, am I supposed to know that? Should I not say that I don't know that? Because then does that make me look stupid? Until I realized, oh no, they're actually just kind of assuming I know, because they're institutionalized. They think everyone else knows. I also think you've got to remember that when you get hired into a company, because your managers hired you, they want you to succeed. Like, you never get, unless you work for a toxic company, everybody wants you to succeed. So everyone learns differently. So when you first start, you've always got to have a chat with your manager and understand what's the best way for you to learn. Is it you need weekly catch-ups at the end of every week or at the start of every week to go through what you've learned and what you picked up and any questions that have progressed through the week? Is it that you need to speak with your colleagues? You need to hear them on the phone if you work in sales, or be on the same desk with them and go through questions with that. Because if that's the case, then especially in this virtual world we live in, maybe you need to set up cadences with people in your team so that you're meeting them consistently. So I think it's just understanding about how you take in information and then relaying that to your manager so that they can create an environment for you where you're going to succeed, because that's what the company wants. The business want you to succeed, your manager wants you to succeed, and obviously you want yourself to succeed. So yeah, I would say those are the main things.
I love that, Hayo. Just recapping what you said: listen and learn, ask questions, and understand by yourself and your learning style. We all learn differently. Some of us are auditive, some of us needs to see, some of us needs to do. The truth of the matter, we need a little bit of all three. Okay. And I can relate to what you're saying. Thank you. Moving on to Fanta.
Yeah, thank you, Olivier. I think a lot have been said already. I would say maybe my advice to overcome that syndrome is to find the right balance between confidence and humility. Like, it may sound contradictory, but I think you need to have enough confidence to, you know, like take the place you need to take and to act and to be bold. And to do that, I think one thing we can do is to have a success diary. This was one of my mentor who gave me that idea. Just, you know, like,
the success
yeah,
diary. My God.
yeah, to have a diary, or
Okay.
to have, I don't know, anything where you put your successes, you know, because you may think, oh, I don't have the right skill for this. I don't have the right skill for this job. But when you start understanding what this job is about, maybe, I don't know, you need some project management skills. And you may think, okay, I don't have any project management skill. But okay, let's think. I actually organized the birthday of my best friend. I don't know, you know, like, just think about some success you had and the way you did them. That would be my first advice. And then the humility part, I think it resonates a lot with what has been said before. You know, like, you need to remind yourself, you know, what brought you here, your gaps, and to identify what you need to do to improve. So ask the right question, as Ayo was saying. Don't be afraid to say when you don't understand. And, you know, from this, if you have this humility, people will help you and will get you through, you know, like the next level. So for me, confidence and humility will help you to overcome this imposter syndrome.
So it's good because you talk about the comfort, you talk about the humility. You know, you don't want to cross the line to become arrogant. You don't want to be overconfident. You have to have like a level of confidence. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And as well, humility. I'm willing to.
Yeah, of course, because, you know, sometimes when you're lacking too much confidence, it's, you know, like, it's like, I don't know, it's like you have something, you know, keeping you from doing things. So you want to have this, you know, like, level of confidence where you feel at ease to develop yourself and to explore the, you know, propensity of what you can do. But at the same time, as Ayo was saying before, we're in a sector where things are moving all the time. You need to be, you know, like, always trying to improve and asking for feedback. Okay. And I think when you combine both, it gets easier.
Love that, Fanta. See, you know, my thoughts on that is, you know, you don't know you have to show some sort of level of vulnerability, you know, in area. But one thing I tend to say to young salespeople and anybody in a business, I said, you know what, your attitude will determine your altitude. You know, let me repeat that. Your attitude will determine your altitude. Is it what I just said? Yeah. So it is so key to have the right attitude. You know, growth will be limited, unfortunately, if you don't have the right attitude. Okay. So yes, thank you all for your answer on that. Let's move on to the next questions. Let's think about now qualification. You know, you look at, got people looking at the JD, the job description on a job, and there's all kind of stuff that I needed. My God, it's a long job description. Is it realistic, really, to meet every qualification for jobs? And it's a question for all of you, really. What advice, you know, can you give the audience when it comes to bridging those gaps? Let's start with Aidan.
Well, as an apprentice, it's not the traditional route. So at Salesforce here, we have the grad scheme and we have the apprentice scheme. So I guess it's about not having university. Well, we also have a university degree with on our apprenticeships. But yeah, it's not the traditional route. And I sort of think this could be the future of like people getting into work, whether it's disadvantaged backgrounds, whatever it is, just not easier way, but a way you can learn. So I guess what my experience was seeing lots of people with degrees and years of experience, whether it's 10 or 30. But I guess what I like to say is like a degree or qualifications doesn't show like determine someone's capabilities. So just because someone may have a degree, they may not have the 10 years or 5 years experience that you have on top of that. So it's about believing in yourself. Like you may not have something to back it up, but you can also back it up in many other ways. So I guess for me, it's a thing where it's okay not to have those qualifications. There's always time to get them, but it's about what you're doing now. And if it's in tech, it's going to be amazing anyway, and you can learn so much. So yeah, that's what I would say. Just have confidence in yourself.
Okay, going back to that piece on confidence. Moving on to Ayo.
Yeah, I would piggyback off what Adam's just said. I think you've got to be able to sell yourself, because ultimately the flip side of your question is, if you don't have the experience, is there are people that have the same experience as each other, and what separates them from the person who gets hired and the person who doesn't? It's them being able to convince the hiring manager at the time that they're capable of doing that job. And while you might not have the experience, all the experience that they're asking for, because they've interviewed you, there's something about you that they're interested in and they want to know more about. So don't always look as an interview as like the business are interviewing you and you need to convince them, why they should take you on. There's going to be some questions that you have as well. There's going to be some things that they may not even really see or understand in your CV, but they were intrigued by. And so you have that ability to then sell yourself and kind of convince them as to why you are capable of doing that job. I think that also kind of tails into like why, probably a point that we might cover later, but why are you trying to work for that company? Why do you want to get into technology? A lot of these questions are questions that they'll ask you in the interview, and those are your answer to those questions will be what separates you from other people that they're interviewing, whether they have the qualifications you have or not. Employers always want to feel like you've taken time to study their business and you've made a choice to apply for them, as opposed to you've just applied to 15 jobs and you can't really remember who is getting back to you and you've just accepted the first interview that has reached out to you. So those are the main things that I think you can focus on. It's the why. At Tableau, we have why Tableau and why now. So why have you picked us? And why is it now? Why did you not apply 6 months ago? Why did you not apply a year from now? What's making you make the decision now? And I think those two questions can be applied to any company you're applying for. So yeah.
Super, thank you. Fanta, you want to touch on some sort of a SWOT analysis on that topic? I mean, that's deep.
Yeah. Well, first I resonate with what has been said before, like confidence, preparation. Okay. And on the preparation side, one thing I would always do when I really want a job is a SWOT analysis. So I don't know if everyone is familiar with SWOT. SWOT means strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So I would try to really understand the job offer and the company, and then I will basically do a check, on myself. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Why this job can be an opportunity for me? Where I see the threats, and going from this, I would then try to make an action plan. Like once I have identified very well my weaknesses, my strengths, etc., I would make an action plan to be able to show the recruiter that I've been thinking, I've been projecting myself in the role, and I've been already starting to think, okay, how can I make sure that I will have a fast start on this role? And to do this, you can also, my recommendation again would be to maybe try to have a mentor. Today we have things such as LinkedIn. So if you want, especially if you're pivoting to an environment you don't know, try to find people that are doing the job you're interested in and try to, connect with them. Of course, make a bit of research and everything. But I think a lot of people are more than okay to spend 30 minutes of their time, 1 hour of their time with you, and to explain a bit, in a closer look, what does their daily job look like? What skills they apply in their job, etc. And maybe with, also have this thinking of, okay, I understand what he or she is doing, and maybe I can also bring that part, from my past experience, etc. So I really think the SWOT analysis is something that really helps you first to really deeply understand the role and the company you're applying to, but also really, like have a look on yourself and identify the key points you need to work on, and the key point that will help you succeed in this role.
It's good. Thank you.
What are your thoughts maybe on this, Olivier? I don't know.
Well, unrealistic to expect to meet every qualification for a job. Let me share a story with you real quick. I remember applying for this company 3 times for a role. Obviously, I didn't have the first enough of the qualification on the first time. The second time, back in the days, I sent a motivation letter. I wanted to show my passion, so I burned half of the letter. They never replied to me. Okay, so that was okay. I thought I was a psycho, something. I just thought there was something between me and that company. Third time, I'm going for the interview, and I'm sitting on last one with the general manager, and he said, Olivier, your English is so, but I think I'm going to give you the job. And I said, why? It looks like I don't meet every qualification you need. He said, I can see you used to do track and field, you used to do sports, and you were a champion. Back in the day, I used to do track and field, I was champion of France in long jump. And he said, this is what I need for my sales floor. You're gonna change, you're gonna raise the level for the sales floor. That's what I need you in the job. So the funny thing is, knowing that I didn't have all the skills, I was very conscious when I put my CV, I put, the stuff I've done in sports. I know you don't do psychology in sports, so I put the stuff I've done in sports because I was waiting for that moment for that person to look at my CV and say, you might not have everything, but there's something that I see that could be super valuable for you. So yeah, when you don't have it all, sometimes there's something they need that you don't know. So I got a job in here, in there. So that's what I wanted to add on that. I think you guys have sort of started answered, some of the question. The next question I'm about to ask, but is any advice you would give to our audience who are trying to start out in tech, but they don't currently have direct experience in field? I mean, Fonda, consulting, IO, psychology, and sport. I think one of the questions that came, someone say we're talking about psychology. Any piece of advice you have for audience before we're going to start moving on now to the question from the audience?
I would say if you're trying to get into technology, my advice would be just look at your current experience, because the technology companies are just like any other companies. They have support functions, they have sales, they have finance, they have legal, they have HR. They have a lot of different functions that all the other businesses have. There is a perception around technology companies as well. You have to have some sort of computer science degree or something like that, strong technical knowledge, and you don't. A lot of the time they pay for you to go on training. They know that you don't know this stuff, and they don't expect everyone who's coming into their doors to know all this stuff. So I think just look at your experience, look at the companies that are advertising the job, see what your experiences aligns closest with, and apply for those roles. And I think do a lot more research on the company you're advertising for, because like I said earlier, if, for example, if you're a complete grad and you don't have experience at all, it's just going to be your sheer enthusiasm that's going to come across and probably get you the job. The fact that you've taken time to research about the company, that you know a lot more about the sector than maybe people that even work for the company do, because that's how passionate you are about working within that sector or for a specific company. So that would probably be my advice. Yeah, really don't get bogged down in the fact that you need to be technical, you need to have some sort of IT knowledge, because you don't. Everyone learns it on the job. They learn it at training that we get sent to as soon as we start.
Fantastic. Aidan, what advice would you give for our young audience and experienced audience who are trying to start up in tech?
Well, I would say, so join either if you just finished uni at the grad scheme, or if you are not sure, to try an apprenticeship. So the whole point is about learning, and you're not meant to know anything or have any qualifications. If you do, great. But the whole point is to learn on the job. So it's called OTJ, and you have lessons that teach you about this qualification. And I guess it's like a learning curve. So even if you don't want to do it, at least you tried it, and you can try something else. But rather than starting a whole job, I would say do an apprenticeship or the grad scheme.
Superb. So I'm going to switch now. I know, Fonta, I wanted to have your view on that, but I think some of the questions probably going to answer that questions. I've got quite a few questions for the audience. It's your time now. So if you have questions, put it in the chat. I'm going through the questions. One of the questions I'm seeing from gentleman called Alexis Meyer. He's asking about your next professional goal. So I've got this question for Fonta. Fonta, I'm looking at your CV. You don't be a consultancy, and after you were a BD at Salesforce, you were SDR, you were a team lead, you did a AE for small medium business, and after now today you are an AE for commercial, so CC commercial cloud. What's next for you? What's next?
Yeah, since that actually I moved again, so now I'm Service Cloud.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's my fault. Yeah, I think what's next for me, it would be I would like to become a manager, like a sales leader. Yeah, I would like to help other people, developing themselves. The role I'm doing now is already kind of a transition because I'm still a salesperson, but at the same time, I'm a resource for some sales people. And I think, yeah, within 1 or 2 years, I would like to switch to a manager role.
Okay, so that journey, by the way, I use the terminology we use in Salesforce. AE mean account executive. So going from account executive to a manager of a team.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Next, a question from Elizabeth Lemon. She's asking, and it's probably a question for Ayo. How do you manage pressure to hit targets?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good one. I think managing pressure is a big part of sales. I think you kind of got to find a way that works for you. One thing that I do is I like to look at my target, and sometimes the target at the start of a quarter can look like a mountain. Like you can think, how am I going to end up on that number? Like it's ridiculous. But then you've then got to understand your patch to see how attainable that is. And again, like going back to what I said before, everyone wants you to succeed. Your manager wants you to hit target because your target is their target. Your director wants you to hit your target because your target is their target. So you got to work with these people to understand your patch, understand the accounts that you have in your patch, see where the opportunity lies, because there is opportunity there. Once you then understand where the opportunity lies, you then start planning how you're going to extract that opportunity to get you to target. And those are things that your manager will be able to help with. Because I work in Tableau, I will also work with core AEs to understand if they have identified opportunities in my patch. So that's something within Salesforce that, because of the nature of the company, there are multiple salespeople for one account. And we all have a vested interest in the other person selling something into that account because that's a way in for us to go to that account. So sometimes a door might be closed for me, but then if I speak to another account executive on that same account, they can actually open another door for me and say, well, actually this door's open, you can walk through here and speak to this person. So just being creative as well. Like you've always got to think of new ways that you can create opportunities and conversations that you can have and relationships that you can build. I think the thing that I like about Tableau as well is it's not a boiler room mentality in sales. And when I say boiler room, it's not if you don't hit your target, you're sacked, you're out the door. If you get to 99%, but you didn't get to 100%, then bye-bye. Yeah, they're giving you your P45. It doesn't work like that. They always work with you month to month. So we have a quarter target. They have targets that you need to hit by the end of each month, but those aren't even hard targets. If you don't hit that target, it's not the end of the world. They're constantly working with you as to why you didn't hit that target. And even if at the end of the quarter you didn't hit your target, there's always kind of feedback. So they look back, okay, why didn't you hit your target? I think sales, by nature of what we do, we're not in control of whether customers buy. So there are going to be some quarters that you're just not going to hit because things didn't fall in a certain way. But what your manager always wants to see is that you've made those calls, you've had those conversations, you've evidenced those opportunities, and basically you did everything you could on your side to hit target. And if you didn't hit target, that's fine. Like some of those opportunities that you've created will close next quarter, or they'll close at some point in the year, and then you will hit target. So I think that's the main way that I manage pressure is I just basically focus on what I can control, and I can control the conversations I have. I can control the opportunities that I build. And then after that, my manager knows I've done everything I can to hit target. So it's then out of my hands.
Super, thank you, Ayo. We got plenty of questions. So panelists, I'm going to ask you to answer a question real quick now so I can give some love to everybody here. Starting, I've got questions here. Probably ask this question to Fanta. Question comes from Zenad. Sorry for the pronunciation, Felix. Okay. So thank you for taking time out for this evening to speak with us. What would you say, and this for you, Fanta, is the key trait that Salesforce look for in candidates when hiring?
Ooh, that's a difficult question.
Okay.
First, I would say it depends, like, of course, it depends on the role you're applying to, because you may have, like some skills you want to point out. But I would say, like, I think the main thing is at Salesforce, we have strong values. So I think the personality also is something, like your values. What do you stand for? What are you looking for? The passion, like what do you want to achieve? Seeing people, being passionate, having done some research. And then also I would say not the performance, but like the drive and the methodology you put into things, but I'm speaking from a sales point of view, so I don't know from the other side, but at least from the sales point of view, we have to achieve some targets at the end of the month. So we want to see people that are driven, and
Absolutely.
that when they have an objective, they make the necessary thing to reach their objective. You were speaking before, Olivier, about the sport, for example. Maybe we have someone that don't have a specific experience in selling a tech solution, but maybe what the experience they had in sport or in any other field gave them this driven attitude, this a challenging mindset, etc. So I would say, I think, yeah, the values, the motivation, and the why are you driven, and what will you bring within a team, within a company. This team player side as well, I think, is quite important.
Thank you. Short and sweet, Ayo, what does a typical day look like for you?
Typical day. So I mean, I guess I'll be, because the team that I have, the role that I'm in is called ECS. So it's basically a role within the company, stands for Enterprise Corporate Sales. And so I support the enterprise reps in accounts that they work in. So I work deals up to 50K within that account. And so a typical day for me would be speaking to customers within accounts that we already have a footprint, to try and build a bigger footprint within that customer. Some of these customers are companies that have like 100,000 employees, like 200,000 employees, and maybe we only have like less than 5,000 Tableau licenses in there. So obviously the business's goal is to have 100,000 licenses in there. We want wall to wall. And so my job is to speak to as many people within the business who maybe aren't using Tableau, aren't aware that it's within the business. Maybe they are using Tableau, but only half the team are using it. Understand how they're using Tableau. That's another thing about technology, that you might have a standard product, but many different companies will use it in many different ways. So you need to understand how they're using it so that you can sell back to them. And yeah, that's what a typical day will look like. And then I'll also be kind of catching up with all the AEs, questioning about their pipeline, because some of their pipeline is my pipeline. And then I'll be forecasting with my manager. I'll be catching up with, as I mentioned earlier, Salesforce AEs. We also work with partners who help us selling to companies as well. So it's got many different facets, the role that I have, because you're dealing with so many people. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay, thank you, Ayo. We've got a question now from Julie. He's asking, and I'm not sure if you have the answer here. Do we have at Salesforce program for mature career changers? Example, someone with more than 15 years experience. Is it there's something like this that exists? Fanta, you've been here forever. Do you know of anything?
I'm not sure if we have a specific program for this, but what I've seen is, we used to call them before the graduate programs, but it's more those teams, that will lead you to a role, starting from the very beginning of that role. I've seen people reorienting, changing career, going through those paths. So we have one in sales, we have one for solution engineers, we have one for customer success. I think we even have more. So this is the thing I would think of, when you're trying to move career. This is a path that can help you through, understanding all the keys to do one role at the end.
Okay. I mean, it's maybe an option. But I know we have Neil as one of our recruiters at Salesforce on the call. So maybe Neil can maybe discuss further with Juhu this potential programs we have. How do you get into an internship at Salesforce? Someone is asking. Moyi is asking, how do you get an internship in Salesforce? Anybody knows on the panel? Aidan, maybe?
Well, I think through Workforce, I can't promise you this is a correct answer, but I know that they have, oh gosh, so I did it through an apprenticeship externally, but with Workforce, they should have an internships where interns do, I believe, 6 weeks, but yeah, I would do it through the portal. Niall, please confirm this for me, but I think there's a page you can go and sign up.
Okay, so
we've got career page of Salesforce. Yeah. You can have all the job offers there, and you can see if we're looking for interns at the moment. Don't hesitate also to reach out to our recruiters on LinkedIn. They will always be happy to answer any question and maybe tell you when it's the next time that we have a job opening for an internship or apprenticeship or whatever.
So we've got time for one more question. It's 6:28. And I'm going to direct this question to Ayo. The question came from Adana. I'm not going to try to pronounce the second part. Sorry, Adana, of your name. So Adana is asking, hey, Ayo, I also studied psychology and I mainly work in education. And I'm looking to pivot in tech. Would you say that it's a good idea for me to apply for a job in ed tech, education tech?
Yeah, I think that would be a very good move. I think that's quite similar to what I did. So I was working in recruitment, and recruitment, you're not selling a product, you're trying to get people into jobs, even though that's sales. And I think some of the tech companies I interviewed with were a bit hesitant because I hadn't dealt with products. And so I then went to work for a company where I'm selling recruitment advertising. So it's recruitment software products. So I think if you can find that hybrid where you still have that element of education, because it's not completely leaving what you do, but then you do have that element of technology. It does mean, after you do that job for a few years and gain experience, once you do want to go into a full technology role, one, there's continuity in kind of your decision making. It makes sense why you made that move. But then also there's some of that role that then applies to the new job that you'd be applying for. So yeah, I think that would be a great move.
Fantastic. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm just doing a quick recap before I'm going to hand over to Ramona at BYP. So some of the key learning for me, for you, or for you today: location. No, it's not a house program. It's something, the mindset you might need to have when it comes to your career in sales. You might need to change country. You might need to go to a different city. So be open to that, because the opportunity might not sit outside your parents' doors. Okay. So another thing I got, it's not personal from Ayo. He talked to us about, the time when he was making cold calling and people putting the phone down on him, you know. It's not personal, keep moving. The mindset you need, we heard about that, about the mindset when we heard from Fanta in terms of tech equal opportunity. There are so many opportunities in that world. We talked about imposter syndrome, and we heard from all the panelists. Key advice they gave us: listen and learn, ask questions. You know, what's your learning style? I mean, Sister Fanta got me with the success diary. I was like, boy, that's heavy, this thing. Your humility is key. And yeah, so that was brilliant. Other things as well we touch on in terms of key point we discussed today, the SWOT analysis. Not SWOT, the program that I watch, you know, on TV, the SWOT, okay? SWOT analysis before you apply for a role, before you go for an interview. That's a good one to know about your strengths, weaknesses, and all the rest. And in the other day, the last point I've noted it on key learning. You don't need to be a techie you don't need to be coding to apply for a role in tech. That's it. That's all that I've got for you today. I hope you enjoy this time, and this hopefully inspire you to take a courageous step in your career. And that's it. My name is Olivier. I'm now heading over to Ramona.